For an instant on this, Charles is with us, as well as Jeff Duncan, as they've been with us, I should say, throughout the morning. Good morning. Charles, let's just start off with you. You know, it seems like we're using Evan Bayh. The comments from Evan Bayh again. I can do more outside of the system. The company is saying we can do more outside the system. Can they?
Well, I think so. You know, Caterpillar is particularly interesting because the president visited Caterpillar right before the stimulus was passed. Instead of it's passed, that they'll hire, then I think they actually announced more job layoffs. I mean, there are some economic realities, particularly for a company that does business around the world. But I think that some of these companies, I think, are becoming just a little bit frustrated. I think they wanted to sort of play ball, if you will, and probably felt, you know what, if we get on board, maybe some of our concerns will be addressed. I don't know that that it seems like perhaps now some of them are feeling like hasn't been the case.
What do you think, Jeff? What's your take?
Well, I would agree with those comments. They wanted to play ball. They wanted to come together and protect their interest, obviously, and protect their businesses. At this point, it just seems like the cap and trade is falling apart. It doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere, so they are going to go on their own and try to make sure that their companies are structured to, you know, take on any new rules or regulations that may be put forth if this ever again moves forward.
Where do you think it's going? Where do you think cap and trade is headed, Jeff?
I really, at this time, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think there's more pressing issues that the administration has to deal with, especially around the world now with the problems in the Mediterranean and with Dubai. So at this point, it's just like the health care bill. I think it's going to be just sitting out there, and every once in a while somebody will bring it up, but I don't see anything happening in the next year.
Well, Charles, there can also be a risk to that as well. I was reading one analyst quoted in the paper today saying that if you're not at the table, it's a saying down in Washington, if you're not at the table, you're being served for lunch.
You're in the middle or something like that.
Meaning, you know, you have to be involved in the process if you don't want to fall victim to the process, or maybe victim's not the right term. Negative effect on you if you're not involved in it.
Or you won't get hit with something that you don't see coming.
So at the same time, you know, so we see some of these major companies. I mean, there's a lot of smaller companies that are not invited to be part of the group. So you see these major companies stepping back. There could be a potential risk there for the business community if the cap and trade and gets through eventually.
I think that they have to sort of bet. They can't be so arrogant to say, okay, the administration's had some serious defeats here recently, and they don't look too good for November, because you never know. Hey, listen, if we capture Osama bin Laden tomorrow, you know, things could change for the president. Or if the economy starts to heat up, things could change. I think it's sort of unfortunate, though, because as a business, you always have to sort of figure out, okay, new and innovative products, how to compete against your rivals, and in the case of these three companies, how to compete on a global stage. Now tossed in there is how to fend off government, you know, from hurting your business. So that is a lot to handle. And listen, whether or not it's cap and trade, I still worry about the EPA and some of the overtures that the EPA has made. I think that they may end up doing some things that cap and trade would have done anyway, and may even be more heavy-handed about it.
Jeff, real quick here, finish up with you, give you the final thought. You know, we talk a lot more about these environmental issues when we see oil at $140 a barrel versus where it is right now, even though it's up a little bit over the last couple days. So, you know, it seems like this issue, as Charles mentioned, I mean, there's plenty of different administrations that are overseeing it or becoming a part of the process. But as a consumer or also as an investor, are we taking our eye off the ball here of what eventually will come down, which is some sort of regulation, whether we like it or not?
Well, I think any type of additional regulation put on these companies will just be passed through to the consumer in higher expenses and higher priced products. We all want to protect the environment. All of us Americans want to make sure that the world is environmentally sound. But at some point, are we handicapping our companies and the consumer with so much regulations that nobody can keep up with it, and they spend more time looking through books and manuals to make sure that they're doing the right thing according to the government? And I believe that all companies are trying to do the right thing when it comes to the environment, especially here in the United States.
All right, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Thank you very much, Jeff and Charles. In fact, we're going to go back to Charles right now to talk